Hi, I'm Summer.
And I'm Mike.
And we got married.
With children.
We're going on 2 years of marriage.
But we've been together for 10.
He brought 2.
She brought 2.
Together, that's 4 kids.
That's way too many kids.
And we want to share what works for us.
And what doesn't.
For step-parents, co-parents, marriage, being your best self, managing work, family, friends, health. We're going to talk about
everything.
You ready, babe?
Always.
Hello, hello.
What's up?
Mike and Summer here. We are back at it today, having a conversation together. Actually, we're going to converse about some of these things. And some of them we have opinions on. Some of them we might be figuring out together. I don't know, but we are going to have the money talk right here with you guys.
We're talking about money?
We're talking about money. Wait, hold on. Oh, I thought he was going to run out. Just kidding. Some people would run away. That's the thing about money is people are like, oh, I do not want to have the money talk. It's so uncomfortable for so many people. But you're like, I love this. This is awesome.
Okay. So hello and welcome to another episode of the Everything Always podcast. Yes. Summer and I are going to talk about a very exciting topic today.
It could be exciting. It could be daunting. It could be any of those things. But I will tell you one thing.
Why is it like it's like social taboo to talk about money, right? Like you're taught as a kid, don't ask somebody how much money they make or how much money they have, or that's rude, or that's your own personal business, right? All of these things.
I know. Well, here's the thing. People have either shame about it, guilt about it. You know, we just did...
Or general discomfort to discuss it.
Just general discomfort. You know, we actually did, speaking of blended families, we talked a little bit about this in the podcast, the interview I did with one of our guests who had said she actually has an issue with money. Like she has triggers with money based on how her parents, as divorced parents, handled money and how she kind of felt in the middle.
She basically became like...
the go-between.
The Wells Fargo person delivering money back and forth between each parent.
Kind of, but it was more like, hey, here's half for this. You have to go ask your other parent for the other half. You know, that kind of a thing.
And then that pressure of having to like go and collect.
I'll tell you what, I'll share with you guys what I do since we're just bringing that up and then we'll go into this. Speaking of that, I send an email to my ex-husband and his wife each month of like, here are the things that, there's some things that he's paying for, some things that I'm paying for. And so kind of put it together and then it's like, okay, here's what I paid for. Here's what you paid for, this minus this or that minus that, whatever. Here's what we need to Venmo or, you know, give to each other. So, and it makes it like very clean and simple, but it's not always that way for
Well, I think first off, if you're using money as leverage over your ex and you're putting your kids in the middle of doing that and making it a thing of like, I know that I pay for your half to go to summer camp, but I know that your mom or your dad can't pay. Maybe I'll pay for the whole thing, but don't forget who loves you the most.
Oh, that's horrible.
Or some crap like that. That goes directly against our number one thing that we say, which is don't be an a-hole.
Don't be.
I almost said it. Summer says you can't cuss on the podcast.
You know what? I think we've got mostly adults listening, but I don't know. Some people have said that their children have listened. Okay, so let's go more into money. Yes, we have talked about that. We don't want to leverage the kids, all of that. We're going to get into that. But really, this money talk is mostly about you coming together as a couple in a blended family. So either both of you have kids or whatever it is, you've come together.
And I can only imagine that the financial dynamic between the two people that are entering into their equal relationship is probably not so equal.
Definitely not. So there's questions like this. These are the big questions. But
first, before you get into the questions, I think it's important for us to say that we don't have all the right answers. And what's right for one person is definitely not right for
We are going to talk about some stuff that definitely are coming from...
We might like give a little of our perspective.
We're going to give our perspective. We're going to give our opinion. But please remember, it is only our opinion. We are not counselors. We are not therapists. We are not attorneys. We are not mediators, doctors. We do feel like we are ATM machines and Uber drivers and lawyers and mediators sometimes and for doctors and all that kind of stuff within our families sometimes. However, we are not.
Well, I might be a real doctor.
But just remember, these are our opinions just come from what we've learned along the way. We do know what has worked for us. So I do want to share that just because I think it is helpful. And I know for us, some of these topics, what was really helpful is really coming together and being transparent with each other. But the questions like people ask are, when they come together, do we need a prenup? Do we need to have something ahead of time, ahead of getting married? Or what about the question of, oh my gosh, you have a savings for your kids' college fund and I don't have anything. How are we going to work that out? Are you going to save for my kids too? Like what's happening there? Or things like, well, your kids, are doing all of these fancy activities, but I can't afford for my kids to do those things. Or maybe there's child support involved. Like, well, how much do you have to pay? Do I have to help you pay for that? Things like that. Or does what I make now have to contribute to what you're going to owe? There's all of those type questions. And so those are some of the like hot, uncomfortable topics that I told Meg, I was like,
you
I
did
think
a pretty good job of like rolling those out right there.
Well, I think they're the big things that come up and they're the most uncomfortable. And like I said on this podcast, I want to talk about those uncomfortable things. So
do you have a shared bank account? Do you keep your own money?
Exactly. Do you have a joint bank account, shared?
I mean, these are all the things. And
do you have budgets in place?
And again, there's only a few things that I would say in terms of like, as we get into it, that I think are the right things to do. But other than that, everybody's going to deal with things another way.
Absolutely.
The number one thing,
everybody's situation's different.
Is that if you're just doing what you think you're doing, but you've never had a conversation about it because it's an awkward conversation. So you're literally living kind of in this like question mark of what's going on and how are things supposed to be? Well, that's not cool. And that's not going to be good for your relationship. It's probably something that smart people should have had a conversation about before they decided
It's probably something like finances are a big reason that people get divorced the first time.
Well, they say it's like one of the number one reasons they get divorced the second time.
Well, yeah, because things are now more complicated, right?
It's probably even more complicated the second time than the first time.
Definitely. I think what's interesting, so if we talk about you and I, for example, it was...
The greater weenus?
The greater weenus. There you go. I don't even know if it's a made up word. It just sounds like a bad word. I don't know. Us going into it, I think it took us a while until we really were like, we are blending this family. And then we started talking about, okay, how is this going to work? The way that we started was who's going to be responsible for what? This is what now our life is going to cost. What are the things that you have to pay for? What are the things that I have to pay for? And I think what's helpful for us is that we were very transparent right from the beginning. And the biggest piece of advice that I would give is at the very beginning is to be transparent and be honest and open, because otherwise it's just going to be an icky, uncomfortable feeling. So knowing like, what kind of debt do you have? Do you still have student loans to pay for? Do you have, how much is your car payment? What are the things that you are responsible for? Because if you're not honest and transparent about those things, then stuff comes up and that's what causes the stress. Well, I don't understand why.
So is the fundamental thing we're talking about right now is transparency?
I think it's transparency, which really goes, in my mind, you have to have trust though, in order to feel comfortable enough to be transparent. And trust is a big deal, especially in a second time marriage. You might be going through things where you're like, trust is really hard for me.
It's true. And hey, for all of you guys out there that are dating those gold diggers, this is a very difficult conversation when they find out that there's no gold.
Oh my gosh. Only my husband would like turn it into something like that.
I'm just kidding.
No, but like, here's the thing. Money is a fearful topic for people to have. So the hardest part is having that conversation and being transparent. But I can promise you this, it's really like when you have to look in the mirror and face the truth about something like, okay, this relationship is not working and I finally have to do something about it. Or this friendship or this person that's working for me, I have to let go of, or this job, I hate it. And I've got to it's like, you got to rip the Band-Aid off and just deal with it because now you know what you're dealing with. That's the thing with money, is that people are scared of, oh my gosh, if he knows how much I have in student loans, he's not going to want to be with me. Or he's going to be like, if she knows how much I have to pay my ex-wife, it's over. You think about those things. Or it could be even bigger than that. You don't know. You don't know until you talk about it.
It's less scary if you actually schedule it like a business meeting. Go, hey, we have, we're getting pretty serious now. We're getting ready to make the decision of like moving in together or getting engaged or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe we need to have a list of the things we need to sit down and talk about.
Yeah. Right? And be lighthearted about it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And you want to go into it too without judgment. Like, you really pay that much for dance every month? Or you really, what? Is lacrosse really that expensive? Do you really have to, all of these things, like, don't allow yourself to
Your supplement bill is what? Holy what? Sorry, I don't know where that came from. I was just...
Don't allow yourself... You donate how much to the church? No. But don't allow yourself to get too heated up, and just be open, because, you don't want to be in that situation where you're like, I have to hide how much I spend here, or I have to hide that I actually have this much in credit card debt, or whatever it is. Come together as a team and take responsibility for what it is that you have. If it's something you don't like, come up with a plan to get out of it.
And you're going to be somewhere. It could be either direction. It could be all the way from like, we're going to blend 100% of our money and everything is equal moving forward. It could totally be like, we're not going to do that, but we're going to create a plan so that we can have balance. The one thing that I would recommend is that the kids that each party are bringing into the situation have equal opportunities and equal
So, and this is something that is our opinion. So some people might say, nope, this is what I do for my kids and he can do what he does for his kids, or whatever is right for you guys. Just be upfront about it and be open and know where you both are coming from.
But if you know me, I tend to lean toward what's better for the kids.
Well, exactly. And so our choice has been...
what's going to make them feel more comfortable, more equal, more loved and cared for the same.
Yeah. So when it comes to privileges and things that they get to do, or outings or activities, or especially when it comes to gifts and birthday time and Christmas time, there's definitely, we are thinking on an equal level.
You wouldn't want your kids, one kid's getting their new MacBook Pro and the other one's like, I'm so glad that I got this Barbie, thank you, because I've always wanted my Barbie. Whatever, you get my point.
We are about being fair when it comes to kids and those type things. And that's because of our family dynamic and what we wanted to have and what we wanted the kids to feel.
And the experience that we wanted to achieve.
Let's go up to some of those big questions I asked. So this is probably one of the most uncomfortable questions is, do we need a prenup? And obviously it's none of our business whether you want one or not. But our viewpoint really was, we didn't want to start something and commit to a life together with a mindset of, hey, we're going to do this, but it just might, going into it, it might not work out. I use the analogy of just it's like you're looking for the exit of the building before you even entered the building, and you're already trying to figure out how to get out of it. That was our thoughts. But you might have different situations where you feel like that's necessary. But for us, we were all in on our family. This is what we were doing. This isn't us. We are in all of us together. But that's a question that you have to address, because we've known couples that, have gone to the full relationship for years, got engaged, and then right before the wedding, it was like, oh, by the way, I'm going to need you to sign a prenup. And it was kind of
never talked about it, and it's a big old issue. So what we'd like you to do first is consult your attorney and your CPA, determine if you have enough value in which you need to protect. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but really, know where you both are coming from. And
have that conversation at the front.
Have it at the beginning. Exactly. I think really good advice is, honestly, when you get to the level of being engaged, these are the conversations you want to have, because then it makes all of that engagement and all of that stuff so much more enjoyable.
There's 4 or 5 key things that you should schedule a business meeting, the business of getting together.
The business of family. We have that. We're like, okay, it's time to have our quick, it doesn't have to be long. It can be
rules.
It could be a 15-minute or 30-minute. Yeah. 30-minute meeting. Let's talk about the business of our family. We'll do that. We'll go okay, by the way, here are some rules that I think we need to have in place. Need you to be on board. Need you to talk to this person, that person. Are you on board? Yes, I'm on board. Okay, great. So just making sure. Then it's the business of, okay, finances, what's going on with XYZ, or so-and-so has got this camp coming up, or whatever it is. And we talk about it. Or we talk about family vacation. What are we going to do? How much? These kids don't deserve a nice family vacation. We're only going to take up, just kidding.
We're going camping.
We're going camping again.
That's not a nice vacation.
It is an awesome vacation. I'm just saying, with 6 kids, they all want to go to Europe, and we're No, so we talk about all of those things. Schedules come into that. What can you be responsible for this week? What can I be responsible for? Can you pick up? Can you do this day or that day. So those are all, it's the business of family, and finance plays a huge role in that.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for taking a chance on us and listening to our podcast. Our goal is for you to not only learn from us, but to learn with us. We've taken a leap on being pretty open about our blended family and how we do life in everything. We want to make sure we bring you all the things you want to hear, always. So please, if you have specific questions like, how do I get along with my ex? Or how do I get along with his ex? Or how do I set some boundaries in place? Or why doesn't my stepson like me? Please email us with your questions. Email them to info@summerfelix.com because we want to answer those questions, and we aim to bring you the best guests and conversations to address your most burning issues about everything, always.
The next thing to be clear on is, and this is something that a lot of people don't actually think of, and it will come up later. And I've actually seen it in multiple different ways. But if you are somebody who is like, I'm saving for college, or I've already have this in place, but your spouse was like, well, I don't have that. You know, my kids are probably going to get student loans. They might not go to college. They're going to be starting a business at 16, or they're, I don't know, or their like grandma and grandpa, you know, who knows? You don't know what this, it didn't work out, or I'm hoping they get a scholarship, whatever that situation is. It's a tough one. You know, I've seen different families where dads have totally taken on all of the kids and been like, okay, I'm taking them on too. Or they've come together and said, okay, well, let's start up one for your child. Or it's remained something that just has been separate. And they've said, you know, this is something that me and my ex-husband or wife have in place, and we're going to keep doing that for them. And you have the agreement that that's okay. And there's no hurt feelings about that.
But if you're going to have hurt feelings about it, you probably should know in the beginning. You
have to know in the beginning. That's the thing. You have to be transparent about it. And I think the big thing on this one, because it is a touchy subject, some people go, oh, you said that they were all like your children, but you're not treating them all because you're not, you know, saving for their college fund. And that's when I have to say, you've got to take a real bite out of reality. And while you are bringing this family together like it's your own, and I've said this on a couple of other episodes, because I don't want people to have this feeling of like, oh, it just comes together and I just love you like I birthed you, like I've known you for all these years. Because the truth of the matter is that's not the case.
Works.
That's not how love works. I know first and foremost that while I freaking loved, or I liked Justin and Ashlyn, my stepkids, right off the bat, like, hey, they're really cool kids. Was it instant? Like, I love you and I'm going to do everything for you. It wasn't instant. It's not how it happens. It's the same as your friend's children or your neighbor's children. It's not like this immediate, but somehow or another, you spend enough time, you make the decision that you want to be this important person in their life, and the love comes and it sneaks up on you and you're like, holy crap. But that doesn't mean that they don't already have certain things in place from their other parents, from the people that birthed them. And you don't need to step on that.
I think the key is to understand that there shouldn't be any entitlement. You shouldn't come into something going, well, we're getting together, so everything's going to be 100% equal, because it's not always like that.
By the way, again, our opinion, because like I said, other people have done, you know what, we're going to.
Right. No, that might be perfect. What I'm saying is you shouldn't just come in assuming that that's the way it's going to be.
Exactly.
Oh, you used the words again.
No, but you're right. There's coming in with that, you know, entitlement, like, well, you said that you were going to love them like their own. That means you have to do this or that. No, it doesn't mean that.
Or whatever. We just got married, so everything is going to be 100% equal between everyone. It doesn't necessarily work like that.
It doesn't necessarily work that way. Or it does. Exactly. But you have to be together on that.
The big takeaway of this Everything Always podcast episode is that you need to be transparent. You need to have the hard talk, and you need to make sure that you are in alignment with the person that you're with before you decide to make that final commitment and throw your family into like one thing. Don't be in it, then try to figure out like what everyone's thinking.
Right.
Get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it. I mean, and that really leads into just like what we were talking about before this with the, activities or things like this. Because there are times as we are like, okay, we want to be equal with our kids. But guess what? There are times when one kid is doing a more fancy backpacking trip or something, and some of the other kids are not doing any kind of camp or thing like that. In our opinion, it's not something to get butthurt about or make a big ordeal about. But we've seen it happen, and that's why. But it is. It's like a butthurt thing. It's like, well, my daughter didn't get to do blah, 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 blah.
You know what? Even
but
in
your daughter got to do
families, there's sometimes the kid that like gets to do the thing, and it's whatever.
Yeah. It's the transparency. It's both being on the same page, and also don't take it so seriously. Like, just be lighthearted about it. Don't be like getting butthurt about every single thing is going to destroy you. It will destroy you. So another very big thing that gets uncomfortable is child support. When you're with somebody and you're blending your family, you're blending the finances, there's figuring out, okay, what's our nut each month? What's our nut and what are our big financial goals and what are we saving for? And what's our future look like? All of those things. And part of that, there's some men or women that will be like, oh, I have a big chunk of child support to pay, or, oh my gosh, you have a lot of child support to pay and it's unfair that that's part of my budget now. People get
like, wow, like I'm glad you have such a big shopping budget because of all the child support you're getting. Whatever the dynamic is. Just understand that that's just part of the deal.
It is part of the deal, and it's definitely part of the deal. And you have to look at it as this is something in the big picture. This is something that is all for the kids. And the big question, though, will be, hey, well, what I make, because we're, married now, especially if you're married, will what I make now be accounted for what you have to pay in child support? Because that's still part of, your family budget. And that's a question that comes about. And in some situations, it actually does. And I think it really determines, I think different states might have different laws, different situations of what's going on. What I will say to that is, remember that when you come together as a couple, if somebody does have certain debts to pay, or somebody has support to pay, or somebody has different obligations, be aware of them. And also know when you take it on, if you are saying, okay, this is what we have, and together we're going to make this work each month, and we're going to still plan our future and all of these things, you have to remember that if you commit to that, you commit to that. So you can't go into it and then start complaining later on.
You might not be able to deal with it. And it might be the thing that you're like, okay, we're not going to be together. But again, make sure you have that conversation before you decide.
Yeah, and if you have that conversation and you agree to it,
then guess what?
Stick with that agreement. Because what happens is sometimes people say, like, I forgive you for that. It's like a forgiveness thing. I forgive you for this. But now every single day for the rest of your life, I'm going to bring it up. Or every month, I'm going to have to remind you. It's like, okay, if you say you're okay with something, be okay with it. That's my point. So there are things that when you come together, you already have baggage when you come together with no kids and no divorce. People just generally have some type of whatever it is. Maybe it's family baggage, maybe it's emotional issues, maybe it's your student debt, whatever it is. You have something that you're bringing, because we are all, and I'm going to say this, we're all beautifully flawed. We are. Nobody is perfect. And when you come together, you make the agreement in a commitment to accept that whole person. And you are now working together. And what you need to work on, I'm going to help you. And when I need to work on, you're going to help me. And you come together for those things. And that's the beautiful part about
Baby, you are
a marriage.
You are very sweet.
But it's true. I might be getting a little sappy, but I'm saying, like, the whole money thing, like, really stirs up a lot of emotions and fear in people. And so if you can come together and go, hey, you know what? You have these obligations. I'm going to help you with them, and you're going to help me with my obligations. And you come together, but you have to have that agreement. If you're going to then turn around and say, this isn't fair, I don't want to do it anymore, then that's kind of crappy. Because if you're taking...
Remember, the things that are brought to a relationship are so much more than money. Money's just one of the things that you need to be in a successful
I agree.
relationship.
Well, that's why you have to remember that, though, when you have your conversation. when you're being transparent with each other. Yeah,
don't be scared if you're the
don't
person
put
that's
so
like, hey,
much, and you don't put so much
I know that I can't
importance.
contribute as much financially.
Yeah.
Be a person that contributes with all the other things.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's going to be times together, where you might both be doing awesome. You might both be doing really poorly. You might have one person doing awesome, the other doing poorly, and vice versa. And the thing is
on Summer and I know this in business, it comes and goes.
It does come and go.
Nothing lasts forever.
Yes.
One thing that you can trust is that hard work will make you win.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not always going to win, and it can go back and forth.
Yeah. And we say this a lot to each other. We've had these conversations where even if everything was lost and everything went down, at the end of the day, we're still so stoked and happy to be with each other. That's all we need. And I know I'm like getting super sappy, but we say that all the time because it's so true. Because really at the end of the day, if you have that...
all the material things actually don't really matter.
They don't matter. What matters
your
is...
family, your health, the people you love. Those are the things.
It's having that trust, knowing you can count on each other during good times and bad times, and that it's not going to be like, just really having that connection is everything. So if you go into your relationships with this stuff and you talk about these things with that want of staying connected, if that makes sense, and that's your ultimate goal is to be on the same page, then it's going to be okay.
And having the hard conversations won't be so hard.
Yeah.
I hope that you enjoyed our little conversation about money and how it influences your blended family and or your normal family or your whatever, all those things.
And we kind of talked about this on the big, huge, high level, macro level of your vision, your what's going on here. But you can have this conversation for all the little things, when it comes to your actual budgets or we're saving up for a vacation or this or that. Just
my super hope
with each other
with this episode is that there are some people out there that are I'm getting ready to go in. Because if you're already a blended family, then you've either done this or you haven't, and it's not too late. But wouldn't it have been so much easier to just be hey, you know what? I listened to this podcast. I learned that I want to be transparent about everything. Can we schedule a business for our family meeting and sit down with this agenda to know exactly where both of us are at? And at the end of the day, you leave, and this isn't one of those little things that you're all nervous, tippy-toe conversation about.
So if it's something you've been thinking about, something you've been hating and not wanting to do, literally the moment that you're done listening to this podcast, text your person and be hey,
schedule your meeting.
Tonight, can we have a meeting about this? Let's be let's be totally open about all the things.
And then right after that, go to our podcast. Make sure you subscribe.
Exactly.
Like and share.
Write us a review. Come on,
man.
And search for the Everything Always private group. And we're starting to accept some people there. And then we'll be opening up the group very soon. You just ask to join the group and tell us who you are.
And tell us why you want to join. You'd be a great person to be in the group.
To contribute to the group. 2
sentences.
And maybe what you're looking for as well. And and I think that's pretty much it. And join us for Brewing with the Molders. Brewing with the Molders for now is 7 a.m.
Summertime is coming.
But summertime is coming.
Summertime turns into happy hour with the Molders.
It's going to be happy hour with the Molders. We're hoping to get some more people that are actually awake at that time watching. But join us and follow us, DM us. I'm Summer Felix Mulder. He's the Mike Mulder. Send us what you think. If you have something you want us to talk about.
And for all of you that have a lot of extra money, you can always Venmo us. I'm just kidding. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to our podcast. You know what they say, if you can't find what you're looking for, then you need to create it. So that's what we did.
Yep, I scoured the internet and looked for the tribe that spoke to me, and I just couldn't find the community that was raw, vulnerable, and really wanting to make a change to the millions of families like ours. So I decided to create it. It took about one conversation for my husband to say, I'm in, and here we are.
But it takes listeners like you to keep it alive.
So please, if you like this, write a review, take a screenshot, share it on your social media. Tell people, it means the world to us.
Remember to email us. We would love to hear from you.
And please share this with someone you love.
and be bold enough to share it with someone that you don't.